I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world that have disease from their parents, that have no chance in the world to be a human being, practically. Delinquents, prisoners, all sorts of things just marked when they're born. That, to me, is the greatest sin that people can commit.
The ability to take care of them. In many cases, abortions are of teenage women, particularly low income and often black, who aren't in a position to be able to care for children, have unexpected pregnancies, and it deprives them of the ability often to continue their education, to later participate in the workforce.
CBN News had published a series of articles on Alveda King and had quoted her accurately, saying that Margaret Sanger thought that black people were human weeds. Well, he came at us for that and saying you can't quote her accurately. You always have to put a disclaimer that there's no evidence that Margaret Sanger ever used the term human weeds. And he, in turn, quoted Esther Katz, who said that she had reviewed all of Margaret Sanger's papers and couldn't find any evidence that she ever used the term human weeds. Well, she knows full well about that New York Times article, and what she was saying is, well, within her papers, it's not there. But within the public record, it is there. And so there's a conscious effort to rewrite history and declare her as some kind of hero that we should all look up to and ignore the root of Planned Parenthood, which is quite clearly eugenics. Now, you go back to the title of that New York Times article, and it says, "Creating a Race of Thoroughbreds." So it's selective breeding. That's what this is all about. And within that selective breeding, you have to breed out what you think is undesirable. Well, in today's world, that is morally reprehensible. And you can't change that history, and you shouldn't even try to change that history. I don't understand this, but here at CBN News, we want to set the record straight. Here's what Margaret Sanger really believed.
It's interesting because it is very much like Hitler and the move against the Jews.
Well, eugenics was at the core of Hitler.
Exactly, and we all recognize how reprehensible that was. But because this has political attachments to it for other issues, other things, including this issue, I mean, people just refuse.
Yeah.
Just refuse.
And if you doubt that there's some eugenics behind it, just take your own survey. In my hometown, when you go out and look for the Planned Parenthood, you have to drive to certain neighborhoods to find those clinics. There's a reason that they place them geographically there, so that they're in walking distance. Do that same test in your hometown, and then take a look at, well, where do they geographically locate these clinics? And then you've got to start asking the question, why?
I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world that have disease from their parents, that have no chance in the world to be a human being, practically. Delinquents, prisoners, all sorts of things just marked when they're born. That, to me, is the greatest sin that people can commit.